Do you know how life's going to come at you?
Vinny is a man, always doing what he can, growing up tough, he knows how.
Oh, yes. How are you, everybody? This is early for me. I have to teach today. So I thought I'd go on early. I'm going out. Shout out to my dear friend Al. Happy birthday, my friend. Yeah, he's turning 39. So happy birthday, Al. Great, great guy. You know, I try to think of what would have been really cool to know when I was in my 20s. I'm not talking about IBM and buy these stocks and, who was going to win the Super Bowl for a bunch of years. Not that nonsense. Or if I was going to get ill, maybe go for a checkup a year before. It's how I could be happy and what was important and what wasn't. What means nothing. That meant everything back then. I'll give you a perfect example. I was about 15, 16. I loved this girl, Carol. Crush on her. She had a boyfriend, but she used to do her requisite flirting, on her bicycle. Hi, Vinny. And I don't know if I asked her out, if I didn't. That's not the point. The point is, we got fairly close, but it never was close like I wanted. She'd call me, say, I'm going to call you at 9. I'd be laying there waiting. And then nothing happened. I moved away. Moved 8 blocks away. But when you live in an apartment complex, 8 blocks away, when you're 15 or 16, might as well be 8 miles. Not that you can't walk it, but you're not right in front of each other anymore. 3 years passed, 4 years. Yeah, because she's about 20. I go to Toys R Us. Don't know why I went to Toys R Us as a 21, 22-year-old, but I went. Who's at the register? Carol. Hadn't seen her for 3 or 4 years. Hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. She's in college. It's a part-time job. Oh, we got to get together. She says this. I'll give you my number. I remember looking at her saying, this is how easy it was. Like for years, I was tormented over you. And she started laughing. And the older lady that was at the register the next aisle laughed too. She must have heard the whole thing. We went out. Nothing happened again. But the wasted energy of worrying if someone liked you, the wasted energy when you're young, if someone breaks up with you and you're listening to, I don't know, you're 15, you're listening. I used to listen to 99X. That was the big station in the 70s. Al Bandero, I think. Steve smoking weed, the DJs. And most of the kids your age were probably listening to the same radio station. And you'd wonder, I wonder if she's listening to this song like I am right now. I wonder if she's thinking about, all the nonsense when you're 15. And that's what it was. You didn't call it nonsense back then. If your mother and father said, oh, stop, you'd say, what? What do you mean stop? Nonsense. Now you'd use the word nonsense. Back then, it wasn't nonsensical back then. It was your life. You don't understand, Ma. You've never been there. Yeah, I've never been there. I just married your father and I dated people and I had you. Well, I've never been there. Yeah, she hasn't been, or your dad, where you are right now because you're feeling like shit and you think you're never going to get over it. Remember when you broke up with someone or they broke up with you? Usually, if you're doing the breaking up, you'll get over it because you're breaking up for a reason. Obviously, it's not bothering you so much to leave somebody. When you're the one getting dumped, it's painful. You wonder if you're ever going to get over it, especially if you're a teen, right? I'll never love anybody again. Oh my God, I'll always feel like this until the next one. And then you remember her, but you just don't get it at that age. And I'll tell you why, because you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to get it. Because if you did get it, what would parents have to do? How would parents and grandparents have some great little idioms to give you if you had all the answers? Well, I'll tell you from personal experience, and it may not be brilliance. Hey, BJ, yes, women cheat as much as men do. Women cheat on an emotional level. Men cheat on a physical level. And it's funny, BJ, because not funny. I just had a session with one of my life students, life and health coach. I'm a life and health coach. And that's why I did this earlier, actually, because I was up, to be honest with you. And I don't have to go in today till 3. I usually have to go in at 1 for school. Today's not a scheduled day. I have 2 classes on Wednesday. I have a music teaching class. Thursday, I do a class, the great artists, composers of the 20th century. But I put on not a play, but I give the students certain songs. I'll have a list of maybe 20 songs, right, from the great composer, and each we probably get through 13 songs in an hour and a half class, 14 songs, because I give a little bit of a dissertation of what the artist was about, the background. And I give each student, I'll make them practice a song, which one they're comfortable with. And then we'll do it on Thursday. So Tuesdays, I come in on my own dime. I'm not getting paid for it. 2 hours, and God bless them, they come in too. Oh, most of them do. And we'll run through the songs and the set list, this because people are watching. So Thursday, it has to be congruent. It has to go through and everybody has to be on time. So Tuesdays, there's an open class at 3 o'clock. So I go in Tuesdays that there's no one teaching in that class, so I can help them. So I was up, and one of the kids, I call him a kid, he's 30, he's a kid. His girlfriend cheated on him after, I think it was 4 years. And he found out from someone, they broke up, and then someone at a party or at a bar said, "Oh, you're lucky you found out now." One of her ex-friends told him, she did this a couple of years ago to the last guy she was with. So he contacted me a couple of days ago. We set up an interview. We use StreamYard. It's not recorded, but this way I could talk to him face to face. And she called him to talk to him, and he asked what he should do. A, good people, women are better at it. Well, it's emotional with women. Men, it's usually physical. But it can be vice versa, obviously. Well, yeah, BJ, but it was a coworker that she cheated on, and it happened once, and she admitted to him. She came to this guy after dating for 4 years and said, "I have to take," broke down crying. What happened? She was honest with him. Now, I think she was honest with him, hoping that A, she might have thought he'd find out. He probably wouldn't have found out. Maybe she's also 5 or 6 years older than she was. She's like 29, I think. So, you know, could good people do bad things? Yeah, of course. Can you cheat on one and not the other? Of course. Um, the chances, of course, are more so that if you cheated once, you'll cheat again. But that's not necessarily. You have a lot of people that commit a crime, go to jail, come out, and are very good citizens. People learn from their mistakes. Most of the time, someone will make a mistake in a relationship, and the reason why they won't be truthful is because they think they're going to blow the relationship. And they made a terrible mistake, but they truly do love you. Now, some people will say, well, how could someone love someone if they cheat? They can. They can. Um, because when it comes to the human condition, everyone's different. So he asked, what should I do? And for an hour, I think he wanted my blessing to go back with her. They've been broken up about a month and a half. I said, you don't need my blessing. A, you're going to do whatever you want to do anyway. I hardly think I have that much power over you. You know, $100 session doesn't make me your boss. But I said, how do you feel about her? I'm not talking about ego. Now, I'm hoping after 4 years you do love her, but I'm not talking about ego here, that you're just mad because she was with somebody else. And you also have to know, believe it or not, a girl kissing someone is much more important to them than when a guy kisses somebody. That's an emotional thing. And I think he wanted reassurance that he was doing the right thing by hearing her out. I said, look, I know you, this was like 20 minutes into the conversation. I said, I know you 20 minutes. I don't know the dynamic. I've never met her. It's not fair for me to make a judgment about her when I haven't even met her. That's not fair. But you have to be ready for her to be very contrite. You're probably going to get angry. And I don't know how conducive that will be. You could cause more damage now than good. He asked me, do I think can it ever work out after someone has cheated? I said, well, first of all, you're not married, right? No. Okay. But you're just as good as married. They don't live together. And all these things to me mean something. I know it sounds odd, but you know, if you're married, a little different. If you're living with someone, a little different. And my first question, which I didn't ask, I'll ask after he meets her tomorrow night. Why aren't you together after 4 years? You're now approaching your 30. I think he's turning 31 or 32. She's late 20s, I think. A, why aren't you together? He lives alone. She lives with her parents. Both of them never married, which is not as eye-opening living with your parents at 28. Things are expensive out there. Yeah, I don't know what she does for a living. She works in an office, he said. Uh, there's so much to unpack, and it can't be done in one conversation with him, nor can it be done in one conversation with him and her. So what did I learn? Not to go nuts like I would have in my 20s, said, oh, F her. Screw her. You can never trust her again. Blah, 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 blah. That would have been one thing I would have said if I were 28 and my friend came to me at 27 and said, they heard what? That patiently fraud a crime in Tennessee? Patience is a crime in New York. I think you meant a different word. I'll wait till you correct. But look, at 20 years of age, I thought the world owed me a living. I'm here. I'm fabulous. What do you got for me? I found out what it had for me, and it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I realized that I had to, and even at that, you don't think you have to grow up. You don't think it's an issue of being mature. You think it's an issue of, oh, I just didn't have the right plan. Patience. Not everything is on your timeline. You can't have everything today. I want you to make a decision now. Well, the chances are if someone's not ready to make the decision, they're going to make the wrong one. You could luck into the right decision. I could give you, look, people luck into the right decision when they pick numbers at lotto. Doesn't mean you were skilled. You guessed right. You just happened to guess right a few times. But the odds are against you if you don't weigh the situation and you go in half-cocked. At 25, you're going half-cocked more times than not. At 64, which I am, I want to know the data points. I want to know what the odds are of me getting out alive, so to speak, metaphorically. So having the patience to wait and let things calm down before you approach. Big difference. It's like my shoulder surgery. It hurts. It's 6 weeks, I think. Yesterday was 6 weeks. You know what the difference between a clean out, where they just go in and vacuum out and scrape and all that and repair? The difference with that is a clean out, which I've had on this shoulder. That's vacuuming the floor, the carpet. After you vacuum the carpet, you can walk on it. A repair is washing the carpet. You can't just walk on it after you wash it. You got to let it dry. That's the repair. It has to dry. It has to heal. Same thing with your decisions. Hey, Tom, same thing with your decisions in life. There's something called Hakim's razor, where usually the most plausible explanation and the most plausible answer is the one right in front of you. You're dating a girl, all of a sudden she's not around. She makes excuses. There's probably something wrong. Now, we always fill in the blanks and we always want to, I used to tell my friends, we always want to take ourselves to a disco. Burn, baby, burn. We want to just think the worst because that's what we do. Right? Your kid didn't call you for 2 hours, supposed to be home. Oh my God, must have been a 10-car pile up. You're calling hospitals. No, he's a kid. He don't give a shit that he told you to be home early. That's the most plausible explanation. That's it. But we, in this country, in this world, when someone offers you something too good to be true, it's because generally it is. We've learned that. And if you're from New York, New Jersey, you've learned that really early. So we don't believe what's in front of us is true. If someone has a great deal for you, they're trying to screw me over. we are we have antennas that only pick up New York, New Jersey bullshit, not Iowa, not LA, the East Coast mentality of dog eat dog. We're not as trusting because we've grown up knowing what happens if you do. Now, there are people you can trust, sure, but most people have to earn your trust. So I learned that also in my 20s. Everybody's your best friend. When you have 100 best friends, you have no best friends. When you have two quarterbacks in the NFL, you have none. Something should be held sacred. You can't love everybody. Everybody can't be your BFF. Everybody can't be your guy. Hey, bro. No. They could have the honorary title. When I was 25, I was 24. I was going to be 25. My wife at the time, I had met her. Didn't get married until 1990. She was from Queens. I was from Bensonhurst. Her family, very straight, brother an attorney, church goers. Me, I played stickball in the church schoolyard. That's the closest I got to the church. Now, my friend's uncle was a powerhouse. He comes in here, actually, my friend. We at that age would kiss each other goodbye in the cheek. They'd look at us like we were crazy. Her brother used to shake the father's hand. They're looking like 24-year-olds kissing all right and kissing on the cheek. It was like this gangster thing. That's what we did. It was foreign to them. Like, what the fuck? You have different sets of rules that you live by. Some may be silly, but they're yours. You own them. It's a sign of respect. In Brooklyn, you think every day is Santa Claus. You walk by the social clubs. Hey, oh, hey, oh. You think Santa Claus is on every corner. That's the way it is. When you meet people that aren't privy to that kind of lifestyle, you look odd. Well, we also are the people that in our 20s, as sharp as we are, we can get bamboozled. Because if I give you a solid gold refrigerator, and I tell this to the life students that have relationship problems, if I give you $1 million refrigerator and you have sour milk, if you put it in the refrigerator, it's still going to be spoiled when you take it out. It's not going to make anything different. If I give you $1 million stove, if you put the ingredients to bake a cake and it takes 40 minutes, you can't take it out in 10. It's not going to be done. I don't care how expensive it is. And as sharp as you are at 25 years of age, and as many gangsters as you hang around, as many guys you kiss hello, you cannot be a 40-year-old. You haven't been through the ringer. Now, you may be sharper than a 25-year-old in Connecticut, but you're not a 40-year-old. And what we do is we tend to think that we corner the market on being the sharpest guy on the block until you get mortally embarrassed. And then you start realizing, like I always tell you guys when I was a stockbroker, the most important thing to know in this world is what you don't know, not what you know. What you know is fine. What you don't know can kill you. You have prostate cancer. I know about it. If you know it, you can go get treated. If you never get treated and you never check for it, you're gonna die. Hey, truth. You have to be able to say, I don't know. At 25, you stand on the corner waiting to get discovered. At 50, the only thing you discovered is that you didn't get discovered. That's what happens. By default, you learn about life. I remember when I was in a band, 23-year-olds singing the blues. How could a 23-year-old sing the blues at 5 years out of high school? What have they been through? Right? That their favorite restaurant closed? What have they been through? Once you have the gravity and you've gone through life, it'll nick you up. But why do you think? You ever see the weathered, I don't know, the cabinets where it looks like they were weathered with chains? And why do you think they're so expensive? Why do you think people like vintage cars? Why do you think people like? Because it means something. Not everybody just wants to go back in the DeLorean, Back to the Future, because they can't stand being 60. Well, I do, but you know what I mean. No, because there is something about experience. I remember I was with a girl. She was like 35. I was about 25. I'll never forget. It was probably aimed at me. She probably said, younger guys are all stamina, no technique, and older guys are all technique and no stamina. It can be attributed to knowing that you have to just be ready. Junior Soprano, great joke. On a mountaintop, father and son, or grandfather and son, two sheep or something, or whatever it is. And he says, let's run down there and screw one. And he goes, no, 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 let's walk down there and screw them all. It's simplistic, but you don't have to rush. Everyone's on a speed way. You know, everyone's in a rush to meet the Undertaker. They're going 90 miles an hour on Bell Parkway. Why? Is there a difference if you get there 3 minutes early? Really? In the course of your life, you waste so much time that does that extra little time matter for you to risk your life or risk someone else's because you're being an idiot? Well, that's what happens. We realize at this age. Now, you would think if anybody wanted to risk getting there 10 minutes early, it would be me because I'm 64. I'm not 30. I have less time in front of me than the guy that's 30, probably, right? So if anybody should want to save time, it should be me because I don't have as much of it as you do. No, because I've learned that there's a chance that I might not have any after today if I do something crazy. When you're young, you think you're going to live forever. Forever's a pretty long time, people. Yeah, right? You would think, oh my God, I only have X amount left in the hourglass. I better get there. It don't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You can't date a girl and expect it to be like a 3-year relationship when you know her a week because you feel comfortable with her. Don't work that way. You have to let the cards unfold. In your 20s, you don't have time. I don't know why you would think that, but you don't. Everything has to be now. Now can get you in a lot of trouble when it has to be now. You know, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've done some good things. I have. Yes, Tom. And we can define I'll give you a perfect example. Do you know why we go back in the past? Because if Tommy and Truth hate cartoons, I mean hate cartoons, and I strap them to a chair and they can't leave the room for an hour, and I have two big screen television sets on the wall, 20 feet in front of them. And remember in the days when you were between channels and it was all snow? Not now with cable, but back in the day, if you were between channels, it was like snow. If I put the TV on my left with all snow and on the right with cartoons, he's going to watch the cartoons because the cartoons is the past. The snow is the future. We can't define it. We can't see it. We don't know it. So we don't want to see it. We want to look at the past because we can reinvent it. We can tweak it. When I was 17, that first love of, oh, the summer would never rain. It rained. You don't want to think it rained because in your mind it was sunny. We never fought. Well, you might not have fought the first couple of months, but there was a fight in there somewhere. But you don't remember that. Everything was sunny. You could reinvent history. Everything can be great because you have the control of it. In the future, you don't have the control of anything. You don't have the roadmap. I remember I was in Cancun with a girlfriend, 1985, Valentine's Day. And we were on the beach, and they had this 1 hour photo. I think she spent $250 on photos. She's taking pictures and bringing them to the desk while we are on the beach and coming back with them. She came back with a set of pictures with a goddamn mojito or whatever that I was drinking. It was still there in the same spot. Like, I felt nostalgic. I'm still on this vacation, and I felt like I went here 20 years ago. I was living in the past and the future at the same time. And what a weird feeling. And that's what we do to ourselves. We want so badly to have the answers, but sometimes we stumble on them. But the problem is when you're running after answer number 5 and you're stumbling over answer number 1, you don't realize you stumbled over it because you're so out of your mind trying to run for number 5. I have friends that seem to have all the luck. I have friends that if they had a wallet with $2,000 in front of them, on them, and they dropped their wallet and the wind was, while they were chasing their wallet, they trip over that and find one with 5,000 in it. There are people that just seem very lucky. They seem very lucky. Now, to me, luck is overrated. Isn't it amazing that all the successful people, how lucky they are? Right? They just happen to be so lucky, the people that go to medical school and then have a home at 50 years old on the water. Wow, are they lucky? No, they work for it. Most of the time, you set yourself up for good luck. I'm not saying there isn't bad luck. There is. But you set yourself up for good luck. Real successful people happen to be really lucky because they make their own luck. I'm not saying the luck of the draw is fair. And when you look at it, it's quite unfair. But it's the world we live in. And we need to really understand that for the most part, the choices you make, if you believe in God or Vishnu or the universe, whatever, aliens came here, you really have very little to do with the whole process. But that doesn't mean you have to put yourself in harm's way. Because, look, the truth, I haven't met Tommy, I haven't met, I feel like I know him forever. I guarantee you that if I went to the worst neighborhood in the Bronx, went to an ATM at 3 o'clock in the morning, started counting out $100 bills, and got hit in the head and robbed and ended up in the hospital. And Truth and Tommy happened to be hanging out, and they said, let's go see Vin. I know that they would say, oh my God, Vin, are you okay? Oh shit. Vin, I got to ask you, what were you doing there doing that at that hour? You know it's dangerous. That probably wouldn't be the first thing out of their mind, out of their mouth, but they would say that. Because some things you can control. You can. The optimist would say, yeah, but I should be able to do that. I pay taxes. This is my country. I should be able to walk anywhere I want. Yeah, you should, but you can't. Stop living in la la land. This is the real world. You should be able to do anything you want, but you can't, because we're talking about the real world. Oh, absolutely, Tom. This is the real world. There are things you should be able to do. A little 5-year-old should be able to go out and have a good time without being abducted or, God forbid, sick. Of course, there are things. You should be able to go out in the middle of the night to gas up your car and not have to worry that you're going to get mugged. Of course. But this is the real world. And the more we complain about it, the more we live in it. So if you're going to live in it, might as well do the best you can. You love a girl, she cheats on you, hear her out. Hearing her out doesn't mean you're going back with her, but hear her out. But don't come home and say, oh my God, I feel terrible. You knew you were going to feel terrible. We act so surprised. When you're 25, you think you're going to be the only one to get out of it alive. At 60, you know you're not guaranteed that. It would be a nice outcome. You're a bookmaker. You have $1 million coming through the window a week. You'd like not to get busted, but with the surveillance now and the money making it is that they could take everything with enterprise corruption, they don't have to give you anything back, then keep your houses. The chances are they're going to go after you a little more than they would have if they're not taking anything from you. Back in the day, they used to walk into a bookmaking place, you got a ticket. A DC ticket. If you got 7, you had to do 6 months, disorderly conduct. Now they could take the building. So do you think they're going to work a little harder to get you now? They used to fine you $1,000. Now they could take everything from you. Don't you think they have a little more onus to ruin you now? Maybe work a little harder getting you when they know they could take $1 million worth of stuff off you, opposed to a $1,000 fine? I never thought I was untouchable, but never thought about getting busted, because we don't. Because if you knew you were going to get busted, you wouldn't do it. I don't know anybody that would go into the social club. You're getting busted today. All right, well, listen, it is what it is. Most people think this whole shit and run out. No one wants to get busted. Everyone that's sitting in prison, if they knew they were getting caught that day, they wouldn't have gone done that. We don't have the answers. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Not tell you guys, you know what I mean. We don't have the answers, so don't beat yourself up when you get it wrong. We don't have the answer sheet. It is what it is. If we fail, we pick ourselves up. You lose a fight in high school, you get up, and yeah, nice fight. And you end up being best friends with the guy. That happens a lot. You have to respect yourself before you can respect anybody else. Why do you think bullies pick on specific kids? I had red hair. I looked like Danny Partridge. I looked like a fucking idiot when I was 10 years old. I can't believe I should hate my mother right now. I'm joking for making me look like that. And I got picked on in school until I got fed up. My father bought me a saddle briefcase. They used it as a sled, scratched it up. I went home mortified. I threw the kid down the stairs the next day. The day after that, his friend went down the stairs too. My mother was mortified. I never saw my father so, although he punished me, so proud in his life. I ended up being a fifth-degree black belt because of that. Taught where Ronnie, see no evil, used to go to the same dojo. Louis Neglia, that's who taught me. It didn't make me tougher. It didn't. Well, people didn't. In high school, if they know you're working in a dojo, they're probably not going to pick on you as quick. And then I realized not to have Danny Partridge hair. I finally controlled my own haircuts. But you know what I mean? Didn't make me any tougher. It made me to the point, if you got in front of me, you better know what you're doing because I know what I'm doing. You're not getting up. So you better put me down for good. But I never did that. I was never a tough guy. Never a tough guy. And I was in a very precarious position. I'll tell you why. I lived in a tough neighborhood. My father was a Green Beret and a paratrooper. I have his stuff here. His stuff. I have his cord from the Marine. He was a Marine. He was a paratrooper. I have one foot in that house where I tried to be tough for him because I thought that's what he wanted to see. Although I was wrong. When I got older, I realized. And one where I was going to be a doctor. I was actually pretty smart. So I always felt I had two sets of friends. I had the tough guys, which some of them are in jail now that I know. Two sets of friends I always have had. And I had like 1 foot in legitimacy and always 1 foot out. And I realized that later on, I didn't have to impress my father. I didn't have to be as tough as, which I would never be as tough as my father. My father was a fucking nut. I never had to be as tough as him. Never really had to be. I had to be me. He would have loved me anyway. When we're young, I'll give you the whole, I have it down to a science. I might be wrong, but I have it down to a science in my mind. You know why we have problems with our fathers when we're teenagers? I'll tell you why. Because when we're kids, we put them on a pedestal. My dad's better than Mickey Mantle. My dad can beat Muhammad. Blah, 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 blah. We get older, we realize they're not the best at everything like we thought. And we almost resent them and hate them for it. We put them up on that pedestal, and now we're pissed. And then when we get older, we love them for just being our dad. You didn't have to be better than Mickey Mantle. You were better at talking to me when my girlfriend broke up with me than Mickey Mantle could have ever been. You love them for just being your dad. And then you have a son, and you're no longer your father's son. You're your son's father. The proverbial mantle is passed, like the torch at the Olympics. And you take a little bit from what your father taught you. You work your own magic in there. You remember some things your mom did, because all Italian guys are very close to their moms. And what comes out is no guarantee to be any better than your father, your grandfather, and his grandfather of how they raised everybody. It's all a crapshoot. You have doctors that gave their kids everything, and their kids are sitting in prison. You have kids that came from criminal fathers, one-parent households, and did very well for themselves. Um, I am not a big look. I don't talk to rats. I have, you know, Dom Cree is a dear friend of mine. His pop is away, and my friend is away on the same case from Panisi. Put my friend away too. Actually, I'm going to see him. I'm taking a trip. I grew up with him. Women in Bath Beach, a lot of those guys that were hanging out, one parent households. The father wasn't home. And the guys, your pseudo dad is the guy at the social club in the corner who was known you since you're 10 because you didn't have a father in the house. Um, Women get a raw deal. Oh, I'll tell you, a single mother who raises her kids and has to be everything, that's the strongest person in the world. You could have all your tough, wise guys, you could have everybody. It's that single mother who had to be there for you at the Little League when the other fathers were rooting the kids home and your father wasn't there. Mothers are a gift. And again, we appreciate mothers during their lives more than we appreciate fathers during their lives. But we don't quite realize how hard a job it is to be a mother until they're not here anymore. Now, if you're a guy, you know what it was like to be a father because you probably have a kid. You'll never know what it was like to be a mother. But mothers, and Italian mothers, guys put them well deserved on a pedestal. They could be a pain in the ass, and and we create that monster. We create that monster by treating them like they're on a pedestal. The only difference is we never knock them off that pedestal. When we're teenagers, we knock our fathers off. We knock the fathers off and we go to the pedestal every day to shine it for our mom. We never. There's a relationship. My son and his mom, there's no comparison. And he loves me to death. No comparison. And I'm not jealous. I'm happy. Because that's the way it should be. There is something between a mom and son that it's like pornography. Well, that's big. You know what I mean. I can't explain pornography, but I know it when I see it. Well, it's the same thing with the mother and the son. The dynamic in that relationship cannot be replicated. You can't have that relationship with your father. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. You can try all you want. Doesn't work. I don't. It's just that's why I always believed that there would never be a woman president. Because when a woman has to send 18-year-olds off to war, and that woman has her own son, she's a mother. I don't know how easy it would be to pull the trigger and have to go to war for a woman president to send young men out to the battlefield when she has a young man in her house. Think about that. I always thought about that. We just are who we are. Any of you, it's good enough for me. That's why I have 4 million views on my channel, but a lot of them are shorts. I get 5,000 views a day on my shorts. But I will tell you, and I have 7,500 subscribers now, I think, 77, whatever it is. But it's not about the views for me. I know exactly what it is. I'm the kind of guy that I'm not interesting enough where people will watch in droves, but once they subscribe, they say, he's a nice guy. I'm not going to not subscribe. That's what happens with me. I guarantee you. that most people will say, "Well, he's okay. I'll give him the subscription. Maybe it helps him." They're not going to join in and watch the lives for the most part. But he's cool enough. I'll give him a subscription. Maybe it helps. People know now how YouTube works. Maybe they feel you get something if they subscribe. Who knows? I don't make any money on here. It takes me 3 months to make $100 on here. But you know what? I don't care because that's a freedom that I love. That I don't have to blast somebody to get views. I don't have to worry about paying my mortgage. Who is this? I just got oh, okay. Um, we do what we can. We try to find happiness everywhere. We've all lost parents. I lost my both parents. I lost my both sisters at a young age. I feel like an orphan sometimes. Lost my Colby. You know what? It's life. And I have the memories of this little guy. I have the memories of my sisters, my parents, people that have passed. And I look so forward to coming on here to see you guys. That's my super chats. That's my money. What you guys do for me, you have no idea. I'm being dead serious. You have no idea. And I'm glad to have found YouTube. It's the therapy session that I don't have to. Hey, tonight, it's the therapy session that I don't have to drive to. All I have to do is hit go live. And I've met so many good people here. And the 5 things I wish I learned in my 20s, love you too. It's a lifetime. The 5 things are I just want to be happy. In our 20s, we think it just comes. We have it coming. And that's why we're so disappointed. What happened? You had to make it. I met this guy. They called him Banamano. He was more of a friend of my friend in the early 80s, mid 80s. But I ran into him at the racetrack. And he mumbles, he talks to himself, and he psychotic issues. And I had to get the answer from him. I said, "Oh my God, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Wow, where did our life go?" He looked at me in the eyes, and he said, "We lived it." Yeah. If we're fortunate, we're still living it because we're still here to talk about it. Hey, Craig. You know, when I think about my life, I think about it in segments. You know, quarters, 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80. I'm in the 8th inning. I want to keep the field nice and manicured for my son to be able to play on it. That's the best analogy I can give you. If you're not doing it for yourself, do it for someone you care about. Because one day they'll say, "Thanks for keeping the field so manicured. I didn't have to do anything. I could just run out there and start playing. That's why I tell people I care about them now, because I'm not sure that when you're at the casket and you say, I really loved you, man, that they hear you. I know you can hear me if you're alive. And I make sure I say it now. Peace is better than company. Well, peace is better than bad company today. But you can learn also from failed relationships. In fact, you can learn more from failed relationships than you do from good ones. But I learned a lot on YouTube. And thank God I have you people. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. God bless you. I got to go off and get ready. I got to go teach at 3 o'clock. Happy birthday once again to Al. And be safe, my friends. Good for you, Craig. Hey, Patty. Yeah, it's important to pave the way for their success, because there is really nothing else. Your son or daughter they didn't ask to be put on this earth. The least you could do is fill their car with gas. See you soon.